Okay. I don't know. Should we? Okay. Why don't we start with having someone, as we usually do, to give us update on what we learned yesterday. I mean, it would be nice to have more like an update based on what we discussed. So you can use the raise hand button to basically give an update based on what we discussed from yesterday's lecture. So anyone? Anyone? Or should I start by saying, did anyone go through the code I dropped yesterday? The one we did in class? So did anyone go through the code snippet? I just want to hear something from someone so we know we are communicating. Is my voice not heard?
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. So I'm going to have to call names. So I'll start by calling Stephanie. So Stephanie, what's up? Can you give us more like an overview of what we discussed from last class, please? Can you bring Stephanie to the stage so she can unmute? Yeah, hands are up. IG, can you allow or permit Stephanie?
Lavender, can you do that on your end? I seem not to be able to do that.
Yeah, done. I think she can speak now.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. I think your audio is kind of muffled, Stephanie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. So yesterday we were basically building a guessing game where we have a random number generated and then a user has to impute the generated random number by guessing. So we had levels like beginner, medium, and hard, easy, medium, and hard. And then we stopped at, when did we stop? I think we were implementing the main function where we created two functions called choose difficulty and generate secret number. So we're trying to put it in the main after checking it. So we created a loop where it keeps asking the user to impute your guess till they get it. I think that's where we stopped.
Excellent. So let me ask you, were you able to re-implement everything class?
I re-implemented the choose difficulty and secret number by myself, but the rest I think I had some school assignments, so I left it for today.
Great. That's great job. Great job, Stephen. Are there any other persons from the room that was able to also implement it? You can just use the raise hand button. If there are none, we would be. And if you have implemented, I'm not telling you to come and explain. I'm not telling you to come and explain. It's fine. We are just basically going to continue from where we stopped. I'm going to do a short overview on what we did, and we would continue from there. So I made mention at the beginning when we are starting that for whatever you are trying to build, whatever language, the first things you have to do is trying to list out the things you need. And doing that would involve you thinking of what we would call an architecture. But now what we are trying to build is in a small scale. So that means that we won't have to draw a big architecture. We can just list out everything that would be involved in building what we are trying to build. And what we are trying to build is a guessing game. Now, this guessing game, we know that one of the features of the guessing game is that it should have different difficulty levels. Another feature is that we need a secret number. And that secret number, we don't want to be the one that would be giving that secret number. We want it to be atomic. So that means we need something that will generate a random number for us. Then another thing is time boundary. We want to capture the time frame at which each player game correctly and the shortest amount of time this player is able to guess the game. We want to also take note of that. Then we want to keep the highest score, and this highest score would definitely be someone who guessed less with the shortest time frame. So that is basically what we will be implementing. And from yesterday's class, we started by implementing the difficulty. We implemented what the difficulty would look like and telling a user to pass in the difficulty we would choose, and a user that passes in a wrong difficulty, what happens? We're able to iterate and see that. Then the next thing we did was to create a method that would basically generate a secret number for us. And we were able to use the RAND dependency from Cargo from Rust library, Cargo from Rust library. And for that, we basically were able to implement a generate secret number. And we implemented this function with respect to what? To the different difficulty level. And so moving on, we started implementing the main logic for the guessing game. And up to the point where we were able to implement if the person's guess is too small or too big. And what happens if the person guesses the right answer? That is exactly where we would continue from for today. So for today, we would basically look at what happens when a person guesses the correct answer. So we would continue for equal. Now, we were able to use for this ordering from the raw standard library, and we implemented the less, we implemented greater, and we are currently implementing the equal. Now, for the equal, the next thing we want to do after calculating the total time a person used for the guessing, then we would need to do what? We need to check out for the I-score. So we want to get the best guess and the best time. So we want to track the best guess and the best time. So that's the shortest time and also what? The person that guessed the lowest. So to do that, we're going to use the if-let condition. Why are we using if-let? This is because we want to destructure an option enum. So what option enum are we destructuring? I-score. So you're going to say, if let sum, if we can remember this I score here that we declared, remember it's an option enum with a tuple, and the tuple includes a U32 and the duration. This duration is literally coming from the raw standard library. And we know that this duration has to do with what? Has to do with time. So for that, we're going to basically then destructure it by setting it as best guesses and what? And the best time. So for this, we're going to make it into a tuple. Yeah. And then we say it's equal to what? I score. And then we know that the next thing we are going to definitely do is using this if let. So we're going to check if the guess count, if it's less than the best guess, what should then happen in this case? We want to compare it with what? The total guess count and the best guess time. So it's not just going to be the guess count we are comparing. We want to also check for what? The guess time. That's the duration. So we're going to say the guess count, equals the best guesses and what? And the duration. If it's less than what? The best time. What should happen if this condition is gotten? Then we want to save the new I score to be what? To be both the guess count and the duration. The guess count and the what? And the duration. So once that situation happens, we want to print to the user that now the user have what? A new I score. We're going to print that out and we're going to show it to the what? To the user. New what? New I score. So yeah. Now, this condition, if this condition is not met, if it's not the I score, if a new I score is not generated, what then should happen? Well, we're going to use an else condition for that, and then we are just going to save the I score we had before as what? As the previous one. And so that would be guess, count, and the what? And the duration. So when this happens, we know that the equal has been met, and so this loop has to stop. So to stop this loop, we will then be using what? We'll be using the break. And just like that, we've implemented what? We've implemented the guessing game. And in this case, one thing we've not just made mention of again, if we look at our code, is what happens if this person stops and gets the correct answer? Will the game continue? Should the game stop? Let's run our code at this point and see what our code is looking like. So I'm going to clear our terminal and I'm going to cargo run this. So here we have it. Welcome to the guessing game. Choose a difficulty level. Now, this time we are going to choose medium. Okay. So it says, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. Please impute your guess. For our guess, let's make our guess 34. Okay. We are told our guess is too small. So let's think of something higher. Let's think of something between 34 and 100. That should be around 60 something. So let's choose 64 again. Now, our guess is too big. Now let's try to also pick something between 34 and 64. Let's think of 48. I guess it's too small, so it's between 48 and 64. So let's think of something else. Let's think of 53. Too small. So it's between 53 and what? And 64. Okay, so let's use 59. 59 is too small, so it's between 59 and what? And 64. So let's try 62. 62 is too big, so let's try 60 then. Yeah, can we see? You win. You took 7 guesses and 78 seconds. Now, for this guessing game, we are tracking the time. We are also tracking the what? The amount of guess. So now, for this 78 seconds, it literally means I took about 1 minute and 18 seconds for it. But then, this game already stopped. How then can we track the highest score? The highest score we have been tracking, how can we track it? That means this game literally have to what? Have to continue. So we need something to make this game continue. It all sure that this game also have a over again, and you can what? You can stop the game. So for this case, does anyone have any idea or opinion as to what we can do to ensure that this game doesn't stop after the right guess has been made? Because notice it's reached line 65 and then it breaks. And when it breaks at this point, then the game goes out of this loop that we created. So what can we do to ensure that this game has to continue and also have the feature where the players can basically now ask to play all over again? What then can we do? I want comments at this point. What can we do? You can use the raise hand button. Anyone?
Okay. I just want to
Okay.
give it a try. Not really sure.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
think instead of using the keyword break, we should use continue.
Okay, okay.
And the code should be written such that it would take us back to the something like if the guess is right, is correct, then continue. Then the code should prompt the user to play another game, like start the game again. I'm just trying. I don't really. That's what I feel.
You are quite correct. And at the same time, you are not correct. So
Okay.
you are correct in the sense that we actually need the user to play again. And so we need something to ensure that the game will play again. But then why I say you are not correct is we cannot tell the game to continue here. Because at this particular point, the user has won the game. So it needs to go out of this particular loop. So that means we need another loop apart from this loop. We need another loop, and that means we need a loop that will start from here, that will start thinking of the game again. So that means we need to put everything inside another loop. But before that, we need to implement another feature that would literally allow us to play the game all over again. And so that means we need to create a new method called play again. So let's try to create that method. But notwithstanding, I appreciate your answer, Tosin. That was a great answer. So let's implement this new method called play again. Play again is not going to take in any parameter because it's going to be a Boolean. It's going to return a Boolean. And what will that Boolean do? The Boolean will literally tell us if the user wants to start the game again or if the user wants to what? End the game. So what would be inside of the implementation? We are going to create a loop, right? Because we want to keep asking the user, do you want to play the game again? Whether he wants to say yes or no. We want to let the user know. So we're going to print it out. Do you want to play again? So it's going to have a yes and a what? And a no. So that means we literally have to track the user's answer in this case. So to track that, we want to get the response. So we have to create a variable, a mutable variable, and we would keep it as the response of the user. Just like we usually do, we are going to create a string, and that string. So the normal std in from the raw standard library is what we are going to use. And we're going to do the same thing we've been doing to read the response from the user. We're going to say read line, and then inside of it, we are going to take in the response, and we are going to get it. Oh, it's meant to be read line. And then from the response, we want to be sure that what we are expecting is correct. So we are going to get a failure message. We are going to get a failure message, and this failure message in this case will be failed to read line or failed to read input. So after this, we are now going to match whatever the user gives to us as response. The user would either give us a Y or a yes response. So if it gives us a yes or a Y response, we want to ensure that we do what? We return true. If the user gives us a no or an N response, we want to ensure that we what? We return false. In this case, returning false, we now do what? We now quit the game. So let's mark. As usual, we want to trim the response. We already know by now the use of trimming. That's converting this to a string slice. And then we want to pass it. And convert it to a string slice. And so with this, we're going to check if it's a yes or it's a Y. So the user can either pass in Y or yes. So let's give them the opportunity. So if it's a yes or a Y, we want to return true. And so that means the game should basically what? The game should basically continue. Now, if it's the other scenario, a no, or an N, or an N, we want the what? We want the to return a false. Can someone tell me why we have this error here, this compiler error? Can someone tell me why we have this compiler error? Anybody? You can use the raise hand button. Anybody? Why do we have this compiler error? Look at this, our code. Why do we have this compiler error? I think I've pointed out one of the reasons from our previous class when we were talking about. So if you can remember what happened, is not different from what we are doing here. We are using the match operator basically. And so we are having a compiler error. So I want to have us try to figure out why we are having that compiler error. So you can use the raise hand button. Anyone? Let me show the code. So if your hand is up, you'll be unmuted. So anyone? Okay, move. Yeah, I can hear you.
I think with what I'm doing, I think the data type already for response is a string and you only a boolean.
So you are saying the reason is because
I don't know if I get
I didn't get what you are saying.
the but I think the response is string data type. But when you are matching, you are returning a boolean.
What is happening here is we are converting this to a string slice, right? And we are comparing the results which we converted to a string slice here into a string slice. This yes and this y, they are also string slice. So we are comparing this to this or this. So if this is equal to this or this, it should return true. Okay, let me just put it like this. So we can say let's rest, which I'll rest the new response. I'm going to copy all of this. And I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to change this one to rest. So as you can see, not covered. Okay, so good. So why are we still having the error? So remember, this is the same thing as what we had before. I'd only placed it inside a variable. So why are we having that error? I really want us to participate. That's exactly why I'm asking this question. Okay, someone said I should place the cursor on the error. Nah, it will be very easy to do that. Definitely. But it's part of what I've explained in the past. Now, one of the things I've explained when it comes to match is that the match operator wants to always cover every scenario. So a match operator covering every single scenario means that that particular match operator has to ensure that there is no scenario that is not covered unless it is either an option enum or a result enum or any other enum. And if you are using any other enum, that means the enum already have its complete variant and you have to complete the variance in that enum. Now, in this particular case, we are not comparing an enum. We are not matching an enum. So in this case, a person could either return or type any rubbish here. Remember, we are storing whatever the person's response is. So the person might not type yes, or the person might not type Y or no or N. The person might type something else. What happens in that case? The Rust compiler wants to know what should happen in that case. And that's exactly why we need this underscore. And this underscore is basically going to what? It's going to print something to us. It's going to have us tell the user to do something. And that would be the last scenario that it would handle. So anything other than these two things is going to tell us, please enter what? Yes or what? Or no. And it's as simple as that. So this is going to be either a yes or a no. And then automatically all of it is gone. So I'm going to remove this from this and just return it back because I don't want us to do so much of, let me do this, X, this, yeah. And then I stop this, and yeah. So all of that is gone basically, as you can see. So I'm going to cargo FMT and format this. I'm going to format this, and then this will lead us back to what we were working on. So for this, we said we want to create a loop that would undo what? That would undo this play again. So for that loop, we're going to come down here and start the loop here. We don't want the iScore to start again. We don't also want to tell the user, welcome to the guessing game all over again. So we want the iScore to be permanent. And so we are going to start the loop from here. And then every single thing that is here, we are going to put everything inside of the what? Inside of the loop. So everything starting from here. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to put it inside this loop. Now, next thing we are going to do now is we are going to check if play again is not true, it should break. So what did we do here? What we did here is simply ensuring that this particular loop breaks. If what? If play again is what? Is discontinued. Where is it? Yeah. But then remember, this also has to be break. So this would not just be redundant, because this will become redundant if there is no break in this one. So at this particular point, we've implemented what? We've implemented this whole game to start all over again. And so what we break the whole game is if what? If there is a no. So if this is a no, which is this, is what? Is going to break this loop. And everything is what? The whole game is going to stop, basically. The whole game is what? The whole game is going to stop, basically. So it is. So let's try our game. So I'm going to first cargo FMT to format everything. Okay. So I'm going to clear this, and then I'm going to cargo run. And so welcome to the guessing game. So choose a difficulty. We are going to choose 3. So it says, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 200. Please impute your guess. I'm going to make 3. The guess is too small. Let's try 63. The guess is still too small. Let's try 100. And remember, this is harder because the guess range is big. Also, it said it's too big. Let's try 90. It's too small. So we know it's between 90 and 134. So let's try 100. It's too small. Let's try 110 or 120. You see, 120 is too big. So let's try 110. Too small. So it's between 110 and 120. So let's try 115. 115 is too small. So let's try 118. 118 is too small. So let's try 116. It's too small. So we definitely know that it is 11 what? 117. Can you see? You win. You took what? You took 11 guesses and 67 seconds. So now, can you see the next feature? Do you want to play again? So if we type in any jaga jaga inside of here, it's going to tell us that question again. Do you want to play again? So we have to choose either yes or no. So it tells us, please enter yes or what? Or no. So I'm going to type yes this time around. And now, after typing yes, I'm going to now choose easier mode. So I'm going to try it 73. That's wrong because 73 is higher than 50. So I'm going to try something like 20. 20 is too small. Let's try something like 30. 30 is too small. Let's try 40. 40 is too big. So we know it's between 30 and 40. So let's try 25. 25 is too small. Let's try 27. 27 is too small. So we know is it that 28 or 29. So let's try 29. 29 is too small. Let's try 30. 30 is too small. I thought it was between 20 and 30. Okay. Let's try 40. 40 is too big. Let's try 35. 35 too big. Let's try 32. 32. Can you see? It says we have 32 and it says you win. It said this one took what? You took 10 guesses and what? And 46 seconds. And that's for that reason we have what? We have a new high score. And so for this new high score, we can compare it to having the previous guess that we had where we won. And that one, we took how many minutes? We took 67 seconds and we even had 11 guesses. And for that one, we what? We had a lower amount of guests, an higher amount of guests, and an higher amount of time. And so because we were able to complete in a lower time frame, this is a what? This is the new high score. So let's say we want to play again and we type yes. We can either type yes or we can type Y. In this case, for the game, we can now choose, let's try something, and I would intentionally not use so many time, and then we are going to check out the time frame it took for the guess, and we are going to compare it to what? To the amount of guesses. And then we would see if it's going to tell us whether we have a new high score. So I'm going to choose, it says 40 is too small. So let's try C. Wow, I won. I never had plans to win just that. I mean, this took 30 seconds and 2 guesses. I really didn't want something that would give me a high score. So do I want to play? If I say I don't want to play anymore and I press no, what happens? The whole game quits. So can we see? So this is a simple game we have just created. And this game, everything happens in the terminal. You can upgrade this game to something bigger with implementing even a user interface to the game. And implementing a user interface to the game would mean you are not playing the game in a terminal. But because of the fact that we are just learning Rust, we just did what? We implemented everything what? In the terminal. And all of this new high score, your guess is small and all of that, you can implement a UI, that's a user interface for the player to see. But the essence of this exercise is for every single person on this call to have basic understanding of how to add together every single thing you have learned to what? To create something beautiful. So at this particular time, I want to ask, is there any question? Is there any question? You can use the raise hand button basically to ask questions. If there are no questions at this point, what I want us to do for the next 20 minutes is to re-implement every single thing I have done. And I want us to, in fact, I want us to submit this implementation in the next 20 minutes. That's exactly 4 time it will be for the different geographical location. But in 20 minutes, I want everyone to implement this guessing game that we have implemented. And remember, you don't necessarily have to do exactly what I have done. The code is like a clay in your hand, and you can basically re-implement and use different methods you would like to use. But then I want everyone to implement and submit a GitHub gist to me on this call. So at the end of this class, I meant to have at least 20 GitHub gist submitted to me on this call. Whether you are done with it or you are not done with it, I want to take note of those that actually participated and did this classwork. So I'm going to mute my mic, and if you have any question as you are implementing, that is why it's the classwork for you to unmute your mic and for you to ask questions. So your time starts now. So we'll be ending in the next 19 minutes for the implementation. So if you have any question, you can ask while we're on the call, but I want every single person on this call. Okay, Mo, please.
Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm using my phone to join the class. And here anywhere I can see participation GitHub assessment.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, I said I'm joining with my phone. I'm currently not where my system is. Is there where I can still participate in the assessment and okay.
Yes, there is. But that means by the end of today, you should have submitted the assessment. Does that make sense to you? Okay, great. But for others, the assessments will be collected in exactly 18 minutes left. And take note that I am taking this assessment very serious, as I will be submitting the results to the coordinators of this program. Also remember, if you have any question while you are trying to implement something and you are not getting it, that's why we are on this call together. You share your screen and we are able to solve the problem together. Yeah, Tosin, please. You can unmute and speak, please.
Please check the Q&A.
I can see it. Are you also saying you are not with your laptop?
Yes.
We want to remember that this is a practical class, and a practical class means everyone should come with their device so they can practice what is going on in the class. So you can also submit it later on when you are with your laptop, please. But let's try our best, everyone, to please, let's try to bring our laptop. So sometimes when we are having classwork, and intentionally, from next classes, there are some classes whereby after the whole teaching, instead of us to go, I'll just give a classwork and intentionally wait on the call for the classwork to be submitted. So we don't have the habit of giving assignment and the assignment is not done and it's only done by some people and not done by other people. This assignment, I would try my best to send the review of those that have participated in the assignment, and it will show as your participation in this program. And then I'll send them to the coordinators of this program. So yeah.
Tosin, you still have a question?
So IJ, I think you should stop the recording. So we'll just stay on the call and the recordings will be stopped. So the recordings it doesn't become too anonymous when they are not teaching going on.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Is there anyone having any blockers? Any blockers or something you are not getting? Anything at all? Speak up so we can go through it together.
Hi, Ayo. I think some people missed the question on what they're supposed to do. Can you like run it down again?
The question is to re-implement every single thing I've done. So re-implement the guessing game. Everything we've done yesterday and today, re-implement everything and submit it in a GitHub gist before 4 p.m. WAT time. So someone just said he wasn't on the call yesterday and he wants to ask if you can. Yeah, you can. You can submit it on the Telegram group, but I would only note 3 people that are meant to submit on the Telegram group, basically. So is there anyone done? We have about 3 minutes more. Anyone done? Anyone?
I'm currently implementing the main function, though I've created the sub functions.
Okay. 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 No problem. No problem. At this point, the time is literally almost over. And so for every other person, since I'm giving about 3 people the opportunity to submit later before the end of today, please, every other person should also submit before the end of today. So we can end our class here, and yeah, IJ, you can take over, please. Every other person should also submit before the end of today. IJ.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining. So in case I'm just pasting the Telegram group again. So once you join once you click on that link, you'll go to welcome. Please make sure you find the Stella DevCamp East Africa channel where we are having all the conversations. And today we moved the class an hour later and I posted it and people missed it. I don't know how, but I want you guys to be on the lookout on that group because that's where I'll be posting everything. There's also gist where Ayomide shared on like yesterday. I posted there on that group also. So be sure to be on the lookout. Check the Notion where I post everything. And yeah, hopefully you guys will do the assignment and see you guys tomorrow. Bye everyone.